Coming up here on the Raiders Report, Ngakoue hype season. It's here, and he's not only hyping himself up, he's also talking about his fellow teammate Maxx Crosby. We got some updates on Raiders OTAs, and because, well, it's basically over now, I'm going to talk to you guys about 3 players that have been really stepping it up. And then what's the Raiders' biggest regret? Not from me, but from Bleacher Report. I'm going to tell you coming up right now here on the Raiders Report.
No matter the location, from OAKLA to LV, I'm a Raider.
Raider Nation, what's going on? You are watching the Raiders Report, and today's show presented by Autumn Abyss. If anybody needs an awesome Father's Day gift idea, I got my shirt from there, and you guys can go get it too. Also got a fun little giveaway coming up here a little bit later on. It's at autumnabyss.com. Ngakoue hype season, it's coming at you here on the Raiders Report. I love everything that Yannick is ending up saying this offseason because when the Raiders went out and signed him to that 2-year deal, $26 million, a lot of people kind of judged it. Some people even had the nerve to say that it was a little bit of an overpay. If you think paying that man $26 million over the next 2 years is an overpay, I'm going to say shame on you. One of the biggest reasons why I wanted the Raiders to go out and get Ngakoue was because I know he can make an impact right away. But I'll tell you what, he's been talking a whole bunch this offseason, and I hope that he ends up backing it up. So a few days ago, the NFL, they put out their top 10 defensive ends. He's on all over social media commenting on it. And then yesterday at Raiders minicamp, he said that him and Maxx Crosby are the best defensive end duo in the National Football League. So this is the exact quote from Yannick and at minicamp. I think that Max and myself are the best duo that's going to come hit the scene. I'm already putting that out there. Max is a hard worker. He's the guy that's putting in the work. Literally, I'm lifting weights right now, and Max is in there doing things to get better. It's the dedication and commitment I can play all day with a guy like that. So what I want you guys to do right now is show Ngakoue a little bit of love because I'll tell you what, I love the commitment to excellence that he is bringing because the more and more hype that he's bringing to this team, I really think it's going to start pushing some of these other players. So if you love the energy that he's bringing to the Raiders, what I want you to do is go ahead and like this video right now. And if you want to talk about energy, he is going to be able to light up Allegiant Stadium, especially if he starts getting after the quarterback, because if there's an area that the Raiders desperately need to be able to improve in, it's getting after the quarterback, right? Over the last 3 years combined, ranked dead last in sacks, and it's really not even close. And then when you're looking at a player who's had 45.5 combined sacks in his first 5 years, that's very impressive. So when he's going out and saying, like, you know what, I think Max and I are the best duo, I can actually get behind that a little bit. I'd give it probably like 1 Chucky head, but I could make the argument for it being able to be happening, right? First 5 years, dude's 26 years old, 18 forced fumbles, 49 tackles for loss, 145 tackles, and again, it's the sacks. But also a big part of being able to get after the quarterback and forcing turnovers is, sure, you can't always bring them down. But if you can get some pressure on them, that's what I want to be able to see. And over the last 5 years, right, 2016, here are the players that lead the league in quarterback pressures. Aaron Donald's an alien. I can't really explain the numbers that he's putting up. But then Ngakoue with 254, Khalil Mack 250, Von Miller 239, Everson Griffin 235. So since 2016, Ngakoue's number 2. That's pretty good. And then you pair that with Maxx Crosby, who his first 2 years in the NFL have been very productive. The reason why he had a little bit of a down year this past season, I'll also put the blame on him basically playing through a shoulder injury since week 6. But you're telling me right now that you got Ngakoue, and then you pair that up with Crosby and his 93 total pressures, which is the most from the 2019 NFL draft class. That's productive. Also, the 3rd year in NFL a lot of times is known as that breakout year. Imagine if Max takes that next step and can be even better next to somebody like Ngakoue. That's really fun to me. Plus the 17 sacks, the most from the 2019 draft class. I saw Ngakoue getting a lot of shit on social media about his take. To be honest with you, man, I don't really hate it that much, but it's also the, what do you expect the guy to say? He's confident in himself, he's confident in his football team, and he's confident in one of his fellow teammates who we know damn well works his freaking tail off. So all I'm saying is this, y'all. The fact that Crosby has 17 sacks, 15 most in the NFL, the fact that you add that with Yannick, I'm actually okay with this prediction. It's a little bit ballsy, but you know what? It's the middle of June, and sometimes being a little bit ballsy is what I like to see. So what I want you guys to do right now is go ahead and predict how many sacks for Crosby and for Ngakoue this upcoming season. Combine it if you want to be an overachiever and if you want to predict how many for unique and if you want to try to predict how many for max. Dude, all aboard. I'm going to look into the crystal balls, and I'm going to go out there and say that I'm going to give this 23 sacks. And if Ngakoue can end up having 12, if Crosby can have 11, that's a pretty productive season. You also get that extra game, so people need to be able to keep that in mind as well. But that's probably two of the best seasons for both of these players. So I'm going to go ahead and say 23 sacks. Now, if you're a die-hard Raider fan, if you bleed silver and black, if you've been a fan with them at Oakland, Los Angeles, I literally do not care. Just like it says in the intro, from OAKLA to LV, hit that big red button that says subscribe. Join the Raiders Report, the #1 most watched Raiders show on YouTube, and we also like to have a little bit of fun here as well. So stay up to date, make sure you're interacting, and hit that big red button that says subscribe. We have some mini camp news and notes to get into here on the Raiders Report. What I wanted to be able to talk to y'all about is some of the players that are doing the right things, and especially on the defensive side of the football. One of the biggest glaring needs last season for this Raiders defense was not having a lot of confidence in the nickel position, in the slot. They went out, they tried to find somebody like LaMarcus Joyner. That simply didn't work out. He's now with the New York Jets, so now they're trying to find out who's going to be that guy that can step in and play. 3 players that were mentioned by Gus Bradley. The first was Nevin Lawson and how he's been looking pretty sharp so far in practice. Now, I could also say that he's the veteran, and I hope that he can, realistically step up. The biggest, I'll say, problem with this is you have to remember he is suspended those first 2 games of the season due to PEDs, and I get the fact that he's picking up the defensive scheme, but the PED thing does worry me a little bit, especially because it's the second time that it's happened to him. 61 tackles, 4 pass breakups last season. I thought he struggled pretty heavily on the outside corner, so if he wants to make the team, I think he actually probably has to do it on the inside. Another player that Bradley's been speaking about pretty heavily over the last 2 to 3 weeks has actually been Amik Robertson. The more interesting quote that I think that Bradley brought up last week was that they've been working him out on the outside and that he likes the way he looks. But if you remember, Robinson tried to make the transition to nickel corner last season, definitely struggled a little bit, played in only 35 snaps, but he definitely has the athletic ability, he has that first step, and he has the ball skills. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I'm going to show you the numbers here of what he did as a rookie, but I want you to go back and look at his tape at Louisiana Tech. Sure, it's Louisiana Tech, but 14 interceptions in 3 seasons, that's pretty productive. But the one player that I want to bring some light on, because if there's somebody that I owe an apology to, I'm never afraid to go ahead and say it here on the show. I didn't like the draft pick of Nate Hobbs. We had him as a 7th-round grade at Chat Sports, but the one player that Bradley was probably the most fired up about in terms of minicamp over the last 3 days was Nate Hobbs. And, he's talking about how Lawson looked good. He's talking about Amik Robertson, how he looked good. But Bradley has been very impressed with him. And coming out of the draft, I simply said, from an athletic standpoint alone, Hobbs has got it. He has all the athletic ability in the entire world. And this is kind of the time of the year where you see guys that have that athletic ability that shine a little bit. And then when they put the pads on, it might change a little bit. But I'll tell you what, man, he's got the athletic ability. If he can just get some of that extra technique down, maybe Hobbs ends up playing a little bit more slot than I initially thought. Here's what Gus Bradley had to say exactly on Nate Hobbs. The guy that's probably really jumped out is Nate, the kid from Illinois. I've been very impressed with him. He has a real good knowledge of the position. He has a learning curve, and he's really jumped out. So obviously that's what you want to be able to see from a rookie. Somebody who not only can come into the NFL and learn a brand new, we'll say, playbook, if you will, but to be able to adjust from the curve of college football to the National Football League. And if he's able to adjust to it, I believe what Bradley says. He's always been a pretty straight shooter, so that's pretty good to see from somebody like Hobbs. So out of the 3 players that Bradley was hyping up at minicamp, which one do you think gets the most playing time this upcoming season? If you think it's Nevin Lawson, I want you to go down to the comments and type L. Amik Robertson, type R. Nate Hobbs, type H. Please go down and let me know. Now, today's show is presented by our good friends Autumn Abyss, and if you're looking for a brand new t-shirt, an awesome hoodie, if you're looking for gear that feels better than dry fit, head on over to autumnabyss.com. But once you go to their homepage, what I want you to do is scroll down a little bit, and you're going to see a button that says Enter the Abyss. If you click on that, you can save 20%. So, like, I don't have a special promo code for you. I just simply want you to click a button, and then that way you can save 20% on all these awesome t-shirts that you see to the right of me. And if you also want to go out and get the Yannick Ngakoue t-shirt, which, yes, I am saying it the correct way. He said it during his Raiders press conference. I'm trying to bring some light on it as well, and it's a pretty dope shirt. These are all available at autumnabyss.com. So make sure you go ahead, get your dad something nice. If you want to get yourself something special, remember, go to autumnabyss.com. The link's going to be available in the comments and in the description. Scroll down on the webpage. You're going to see a button. It says Enter the Abyss. You click that, and you can save 20%. What's the Raiders' biggest regret entering the 2021 season? Bleacher Report released an article with the one big regret every NFL team should have right now in the offseason. They decided to go with the Raiders drafting Alex Leatherwood. If you don't know, they selected him number 17 overall in this past year's draft, so a first-round pick. The reason why this has kind of been nitpicked is because over the last 2 years, the Raiders' first-round picks have been, well, a little bit of a toss-up, right? Leatherwood was a good player, and I 100% disagree with the statement of it being the biggest regret. Did I really love the pick at the time? No, but now I can look at the draft and the way it fell, and if I were to sit here and say it was the biggest regret, I'd be lying to you. So guess what? Jon Gruden and I agree on something. So here's exactly what Gruden had to say on some of the offseason moves and why the offensive line's been getting ripped apart here a little bit. We made some changes that are, in some people's eyes, questionable. We're younger. I think we're faster. I think we have more depth. It's hard to say right now without seeing everything in pads at full speed. Here's also what Jon Gruden had to say on Alex Leatherwood. Well, he's very smart, very athletic. He's long. He's a talented player. That's why we took him. We had him ranked higher on our boards. We're glad that he fell to us. We were glad that he was there for a smart guy, very athletic. He has a lot of experience. We're counting on him being our starting right tackle. So what I want you guys to do right now is go down in the comments and let me know what will be the Raiders' biggest regret from this past, I'll say, off season. I get the fact that he's talking about Leatherwood, and do I think it was a little bit of a reach? Yes. I don't really like how Gruden said he fell down in his board because, let's face it, Leatherwood wasn't 17 on realistically anybody's board. The reason why Bleacher Report hated this so much because they're going off base Pro Football Focus grades in the draft where they had him ranked as the 9th best offensive tackle. I like PFF, but whoever does their draft analysis is absolute hot garbage. Like, remember, Najee Harris was going in mock drafts in like 3rd and 4th round. So, no disrespect, PFF. I don't take anything you guys have to say draft-wise very seriously. So let me know down in the comments, what will the Raiders' biggest regret be from this past offseason? These are my 3 biggest, right? And I'm going to go from order. It's not number 1 all the way down to 3, but losing Rodney Hudson. Am I hopeful that Andre James can be good? Yes. Would I have given him a 3-year extension right away? No, I wouldn't have. But you lost Hudson. Did he take a step back? He definitely did. He's probably still one of the best pass-blocking centers in the league, but he definitely took a step back and run, and he's also a leader on that football team. So that'll be a big loss. Definitely bigger than drafting Alex Leatherwood. The next one, cutting Mo Hurst. I actually thought that Mo Hurst was the best defensive tackle on this Raiders roster last offseason. For whatever reason, his snaps, they just kept going down and down and down. I don't have a great answer for the reason why that was. Maybe it's because he wasn't selected by Mike Mayock or he wasn't a part of that draft class, so they decided to move on from him. But I would regret moving on from Mo Hurst more than drafting Alex Leatherwood. And then the last one, losing Nelson Agholor. I would have never paid him the amount of money that New England did. I'm not giving Agholor, what was it, like $11 million a year. But when you have your number 1 receiver, a dude who had 8 touchdowns, 847 yards, 47 grabs last season, losing him and not being able to get him back, that does somewhat of definitely somewhat is a bit of a loss. And I definitely think the Raiders could end up regretting that. Now, am I hoping that, John Brown could step up, Henry Ruggs can step up, Brian Edwards? Abso-flippin'-lutely. But you could definitely see that it is a little bit of a regret. But Gruden also believes that this offensive line has more depth, and I'm on board for that because when you do look at it from top to bottom, I think you can rely on a lot of those other players a little bit more. You're going to have more confidence in John Simpson. Denzel Good showed that he could step up. Nick Martin, Andre James. I mean, I might actually say there might be more depth there, especially with Jimmy Morrissey. Also, Sam Young, not a guy I want starting, and neither is Brandon Parker. But if you are confident that Alex Leatherwood can play more than 5 games, because that's what Trent Brown played, then guess what? You are doing the right thing. So the fact that Gruden thinks that the depth's there, that Gruden believes that the team chemistry is better, those things will translate into winning more football games. I'm telling y'all right now, one of the biggest things for Gruden back on HBO Hard Knocks was like, knock on wood if you're with me. There was a lot of guys in that locker room that wouldn't knock on wood if you're with them. Instead, they were eating fruit roll-ups in the back or getting their feet fried off in a Friezo chamber. I don't remember what it was. Cryotherapy. I think that was the name. You know who I'm talking about. Well, here's what Gruden had to say, and I thought it was a pretty interesting quote, and I'm basically going to kind of leave you guys with this. A lot of these guys would play for nothing. They would come out here and keep practicing if I didn't blow the whistle. We don't have any energy vampires. We have guys that like the game that are going to compete. He's also talking about Zay Jones. He goes on to talk about Alex Leatherwood. Gruden, Mayock, they want people who want to play football, who will play any position, and that's exactly what you're getting with Alex Leatherwood. In terms of the energy vampire, you see that in there? The energy vampire, he doesn't say Trent Brown. But if you really read the quote of the text, you read everything, he's talking about Trent Brown. So before I go, I haven't done it in a long time, and I want to be able to. I want every person that makes it this far in the video to go down in the comments section and type FTB.